Greetings, YouTube. Today we're taking a look at a Camillus knife from their titanium bonded line. This is the Scivorous, which I believe is what that's supposed to say. I think it's supposed to be a derivative of the word scissors. It's a very strange word, and I don't associate it with this tool in any way, shape, or form. Okay, let's look at the stats we got on here. First thing you're going to notice, which is that little blurb above my thumb, says up to 3 times harder than untreated steel. Blade stays sharper longer. How often do people sell knives that haven't been treated? Just asking for a friend. Then we have over here, it says folding knife, 420 stainless steel, nothing more specific than 420, 3¼ inch blade, glass filled nylon handle, quick launch bearing system, Camillus lifetime warranty. So I found this at Tractor Supply. And I believe this is part of their Christmas line for the Christmas 2022. I have no idea when you guys are going to actually see this video. So here you go right now. First thing you're going to notice right off the bat is it's a nice color. It's not tactical black and it's not camo. So that gives a big bonus in my book right there. I like the color quite a bit. These are, again, glass-filled nylon, so they're a little bit lighter than G10s. They don't have quite as much of a solid feel to them, but they're still quite nice. They have a texture on them. They are contoured, which is also nice. It's not a huge contour, but it is a contour. Everything is nicely shaped on these scales. I find it very comfortable. We have a spacer in here for a lanyard. That's too thin to get a piece of paracord through unless you were to empty the paracord, and if you did that, you'd be able to slide the empty outer shell of the paracord through there without any difficulty. I'm not sure, again, if you really need that kind of thing. I don't really ever use lanyards myself. Intriguing question. Anybody out there who watches this does use a lanyard? Tell me why, and maybe you can tell me what's the justification for lanyards on knives that have these, which is a pocket clip. This is, of course, the classic Camillus pocket clip, and it's got the little cutout, and I have to tell you, I always really like that. It is a firm. It's not unbearable. It doesn't hurt me when I do that, which is nice. It's got flat fasteners, which is also a nice touch, though the clip itself does sit proud ever so slightly of the scales. It's sitting on the scales as opposed to there being a relief cut where it would have been, a slot or something where it would have sat within the scale. That would have been a nice touch if you ask me. We got a blind pivot on this side and a torque bit pivot on this side. There is a slight difference with these pivots. This one is ever so slightly proud, and this one is ever so slightly recessed. But for me, that's not a deal breaker. So we have a little bit of cast jimping here, or maybe machine, I'm not sure, but it's quite comfortable. You don't even really notice it. It doesn't get in the way in any way, shape, or form. It isn't something that you're going to feel against your hand and go, why is this here? Because you're just not. This is a flipper. It has no other means of opening, which I think is kind of cool. The blade is nicely centered right out of the package. I didn't have to do anything. And as you can see, there is jimping here, and the jimping on the blade is not aggressive. You can feel it if you put your finger on it, you push on it, but it's not aggressive in the least. And there is some jimping here on the flipper tab, which is nice. It's enough there to get your finger on, to step above it being perfectly smooth, but it is in no way, shape, or form going to be painful in any way. I played with this quite extensively, and which means flipping it many, many, many times, and it never once caused me any difficulty on my my fingertip. So, speaking of that, there we go. That's how it deployed the first time I ever launched it. So I was quite impressed with that. Ball bearing pivots in my book are something we should pretty much see on all knives now. It's become so ubiquitous, and it is so approachable and easily accessible. It isn't something that I think that we should be concerned. We should be expecting it. So now you see the profile on this, which is a really nice little profile. I really quite like that. We have some swedging, which is nicely even from both sides The blade itself, there is nothing on this which is out of balance. It's nicely evenly ground. There is a nice choil here, so if you need to do this, you can very comfortably do that. And your finger, you can actually see the space. My finger is not near that edge at all. So if you wanted to get in there and do some close work like this, you can. It is quite comfortable. If you want to do a scalpel cut like this, you're going to be going past the jimping. That's really there for just if you need to make a slightly aggressive cut. But I really consider this to be a medium duty knife. I don't know what kind of heavy cutting you'd be doing with this kind of thing. And if you're into the whole reverse grip, I find it quite comfortable. The clip does land under my fingertips, but I don't care. It's a good sized blade. I have a full four finger grip on that one and a little bit of extra sticking off the end. And I was very pleased to see that when this came out of the box, or out of the packaging rather, this edge is shaving sharp. I checked it on my arm, it actually shaved hair, which is nice. This is a flat grind. And which is, as far as I'm concerned, is the only type of grind you should have. The only place where a hollow grind should exist in my book is on a straight razor. I know there are people who are going to argue with me on that one, but flat grinds, that's a hill I'm willing to die on. I consider it to be a superior cutting edge, as well as giving you more meat for your blade. Interesting, the swedge is actually slightly hollow. So when this was put in, it was done with a tool that left a radius, whereas this was done on a larger, flatter surface, kind of a belt or something, where there isn't any, where it's nice and flat. And it's also very nicely done. The lines, you can very slightly see them, are nicely, they're even, they match each other, so maybe this was done in a two belt system or of some variety, and you pulled it through. I don't know, but whoever did it, they actually knew what they were doing. It's got a nice finish. It's not mirrored. Would I call that satin? I don't know if I'd call it satin, but it is not a mirrored surface, and that's okay by me. I don't necessarily need that kind of thing on my knife. I gotta just tell you, to me, this really ups Camillus's game in a major way. I think that this, to me, shows me Camillus is on the right path. I mean, they went to the trouble to recess the liners. I mean, that's a nice touch. They didn't skeletonize them. Again, skeletonizing them, recessing this and using G10 would really bring them up to par with a lot of the Firebird or Effengrow knives out on the market. And those aren't far off from the price of this. This was $20. And you can get a solid Effengrow or Firebird knife in the $25 range that has those features. So Camillus is beginning to tune in to that level of quality. And I fully applaud this. I gotta tell you, this is not a knife I would be ashamed to give somebody. Particularly if somebody's just getting into knives and they have absolutely no idea what they're going to like in a knife, and everybody has different likes. For example, they may be wrong and want to have a tip down carry, but this is the kind of thing you could buy somebody, they could experiment with it and say, hey, I like this feature, but this feature I don't, and then you can help them find the knife that's going to really meet their needs. But they're not going to be ashamed to own this or carry it or use it. So yeah, I'm impressed. It's a silly name, this Scivorous, but it's a solid blade at a nice price point, and I think Camillus has really upped their game with this, and I was thoroughly and completely and pleasantly surprised.